King Charles III might be happily married now, but did you know his ex-wife is the one the British people truly call the People's Princess? Her life was a legend, a fairy tale wedding that turned into a nightmare of infidelity and mental health struggles, ending in a tragic high-speed paparazzi chase and a fatal crash. The whole world loved her. Over 3.5 billion people tuned in for her funeral. Even the Queen adored her. So much so that she reportedly took a subtle revenge when Charles remarried his mistress. This is the story of Diana, Princess of Wales. Despite being loved by everyone else, she could never win the heart of her husband. What went wrong? Who was the third person, and why, 26 years later, is the world still obsessed with her? Today, we're diving deep into the legendary life of Princess Diana. Because of her down-to-earth image, many people think Diana was a commoner who hit the royal lottery, a real-life Cinderella story. But actually, she was far from it. She came from the Spencers, a legendary aristocratic family that has been tight with the royals since the 15th century. Diana grew up on the Sandringham estate, which her parents rented from Queen Elizabeth II herself. Since the royals vacationed there often, little Diana actually played with the Prince Andrew and Prince Edward as a child. But while she seemed warm and full of love, her own childhood was anything but. Her parents' marriage was cold and toxic. In an interview, she even recalled the trauma of watching her father slap her mother. School wasn't really Diana's thing. Her grades were pretty rough, and she crushed it in dance, music, and swimming. Her kind personality made her super popular though. At 19, her parents bought her an apartment in Kensington. She lived there with friends, sharing clothes, and living off cereal and chocolate. It was a total vibe. She was working too, teaching at a kindergarten on MWF and nannying for her upper-class families. This actually made her the only royal to ever have worked a normal job. She was living her best life and thought it would stay that way until one man changed everything. He turned this kindergarten teacher into the People's Princess. That man was Prince Charles. It all started in 1977. A 16-year-old Diana met Charles, but back then, 29-year-old Charles, yep, that age gap is real, was actually dating her older sister, Sarah Spencer. About awkward. I bet he had no idea he'd end up marrying his girlfriend's little sister. In 1979, they crossed paths again. Charles had just lost his great-uncle due to an assassination and was grieving. Diana, being the empathetic person she was, told him, "You must be so lonely." Apparently, that hit Charles hard, and he supposedly pulled her in for a kiss right then and there. That's when the dating started. 19-year-old Diana was swept off her feet by a man 13 years older. After only 13 dates, they decided to get married. On July 29, 1981, they had their wedding of the century. At just 20, Diana became a princess, and her life was never the same. But if you think this was a fairy tale, think again. Charles might have thought Diana was the perfect princess, but that didn't mean he loved her. The cracks showed almost immediately, and then came the bombshell, the cheating. On November 20th, 1995, the BBC aired that explosive interview with Princess Diana. 23 million people watched her get real about royal life, her marriage, and her mental health. But the quote that broke the internet was,
"Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded."
There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded. She was talking about Charles's affair. Diana felt like an outsider in her own marriage, and that third person was none other than Camilla Parker Bowles, now Queen Camilla. When Diana confronted Charles, he reportedly said, "I refuse to be the only Prince of Wales who's never had a mistress."
My husband, why this lady around? And he said, "Well, I refuse to be the Prince of Wales and never had a mistress."
Ouch. They officially separated in 1993. Then came Camillagate, or Tampongate. A leaked phone call from 1989 revealed a very explicit conversation between Charles and Camilla. You want to know why it's called Tampongate? Well, here's a snippet. Charles said, "Oh God, I'll just live inside your trousers or something. It would be much easier." And Camilla laughed. "What are you going to turn into? A pair of knickers?" Charles said, "God forbid, a Tampax, just my luck." The leaked tape confirmed everything Diana had said about his infidelity and absolutely tanked Charles's reputation with the public. On August 28, 1996, the divorce was finalized. Diana kept the title Princess of Wales, but lost her Royal Highness status. The nightmare was finally over. 1 year later, on August 30th, 1997, Diana and her boyfriend, Dodi Fayed, landed in Paris. Paparazzi were everywhere. While being chased by photographers through the Pont d'Alma tunnel, their Mercedes crashed into a pillar. Diana, just as she was finally finding her freedom, died in that crash. The world was in shock, especially when it came out that the paparazzi were taking photos of the wreckage instead of helping. Britain was devastated. Buckingham Palace was buried in flowers. 750,000 people waited in line for hours just to pay their respects. Even though she was technically no longer a royal highness, the entire country went into mourning. It showed just how much she meant to people. But what made her so special? Why did the world love her so much? Join us on Amazing Talker. It's our one-on-one tutoring platform. You can find a tutor to learn about English or history or any other subject. Our tutors are from all around the world and speak your native language. More than 1 million students have joined us already, making us one of the largest learning platforms online. So if you're interested in learning more, learning languages, or just something a little less scary, well, just click on the link below and register to get $10 off. One of the most beloved things about Diana was her modern approach to parenting. She broke the royal tradition by taking William and Henry on subways and buses and letting them wear jeans and baseball caps. She wanted them to have a real childhood and see the world as it really was. She once said, "Family is the most important thing in the world." They even had a Saturday tradition, grabbing McDonald's, Big Macs, and fries to eat at the palace while watching blind date shows on TV. Diana became people's princess because she truly cared. In 1997, she auctioned off 79 of her iconic dresses at Christie's, raising $3.4 million for cancer and AIDS charity. But it wasn't just about the money. In 1987, she visited an AIDS ward in London and did something that shocked the world. She shook hands with a patient without wearing gloves. Back then, there was so much fear and stigma around HIV, AIDS. People thought you could just catch it by touching someone. Diana proved them wrong. She said HIV does not make people dangerous to know, so you can shake their hands and give them a hug. Heaven knows they need it. That one simple gesture changed the global conversation and won her the respect of millions. Diana's popularity wasn't just about her charm. It was about her guts to challenge the royal status quo. You know how the royals have a million strict rules like royal ladies don't run in public? Well, Diana didn't care. She famously kicked off her heels and ran barefoot at her son's school sports day just to win a race for them. That's pure mom energy right there. But if we're talking about rule breaking, we have to talk about the iconic revenge dress. In Queen Elizabeth's book, black was for funerals only. Wearing it to a party was a huge no-no. But in June 1994, on the exact night Prince Charles publicly admitted to his affair, Diana stepped out in a stunning, skin-tight black mini dress. She paired it with a massive sapphire necklace and, get this, bright red nail polish, which was totally against protocol. This look wasn't just for fashion, it was a huge middle finger to the royal family. It was so bold that the world dubbed it the revenge dress. Just how much did the world love Diana? Enough to make the Queen break centuries of British tradition. When Diana passed in 1997, the grief was unlike anything we'd ever seen. People flooded London, leaving a literal ocean of flowers and letters at the palace gates. It felt like everyone had lost their best friend. But there was a problem. Since Diana and Charles were divorced, the Queen technically didn't have to say anything according to protocol. Plus, while the rest of London had their flags at half-mast, the flagpole at Buckingham Palace was empty. The media called it cold, and public anger started to boil over. You see, royal tradition said that flag only flies when the monarch is in the building, and it's never lowered for anyone. But the people didn't care about tradition. They wanted respect for their princess. Finally, the Queen did the unthinkable. She broke 300 years of tradition. She gave a televised speech, and in the first time in history, the Union Jack was flown at half-mast over Buckingham Palace. It was a massive win for the people and a testament to Diana's legacy. In her speech, the Queen said, "I admired and respected her, especially for her devotion to her two sons." After everything you've heard, you might think King Charles and Camilla are just the villains in the fairy tale, but is that the whole story? If we're being real, Charles and Diana were just a bad match. Charles was a Cambridge-educated academic who loved polo and philosophy. Diana, she hated books, she hated riding horses, and was all about dancing, music, and pop culture. There's a heartbreaking story from when Diana was 4 months pregnant with William. Desperate for Charles's attention, she threatened to throw herself down the stair. Charles reportedly just said, "You always do this to me," and walked out to go riding. Diana actually did jump, but Charles just ignored her and went on with his day. Cold, right? Now, look at Camilla. She was Charles's true soulmate. They met at a polo match when they were in their 20s. Camilla was warm, funny, and most importantly, she listened to him. To Charles, she was the only one who truly understood the pressure of being a prince. He even said, "In this whole world, Camilla is my best friend." But their timing was terrible. Charles went off for his naval career, and Camilla ended up marrying someone else. They were star-crossed lovers who spent the next few decades trying to find their way back to each other. Diana famously said there were 3 people in her marriage, but if we're being honest, it was even more crowded than that. Charles wasn't the only one stepping out. Diana had her own affairs too. She admitted in a TV interview that at 24, she fell deeply in love with her bodyguard, Barry Manikin. She was miserable in her marriage and found comfort in him, even dreaming of eloping. But when the palace found out, they reassigned him immediately. Tragically, just 3 weeks later, he died in a motorcycle crash. Diana called it the biggest blow of her life. Later, she had a 3-year affair with her riding instructor, James Hewitt. There are even wild rumors that Hewitt was Prince Harry's real father, though Hewitt denied this since they met after Harry was born. Hewitt eventually betrayed her, selling her private letters and writing a tell-all book just to make a quick buck. So yeah, crowded was definitely an understatement. This marriage was a mess on both sides. So what did the Queen think about all this? Initially, Queen Elizabeth II was a fan. She approved of the marriage and trusted Diana, even sending her to represent the family at Prince Grace of Monaco's funeral. But the Queen definitely overestimated how well Diana would handle royal life. The pressure and the toxic marriage took a massive toll on Diana's mental health. The Queen tried to mediate, but you can't fix a broken heart with royal protocol. As things got colder between the couple, Diana started skipping official events without asking, and her relationship with the Queen soured. Eventually, the Queen sent the letter that ended it all. The best decision is to divorce. And what about Charles and Camilla? They finally tied the knot in 2005. The Queen skipped the civil ceremony but attended the prayer service. And here's the tea. The Queen showed up wearing all white, while the bride, Camilla, wore gray. The internet lost its mind. Some think the Queen wore white as a tribute to Diana, who famously wore white at her own wedding. Others pointed to something Meghan Markle later said, that you can never wear the same color as the Queen at a group event. So by wearing white, was the Queen low-key banning Camilla from wearing the traditional bridal color? We'll never know for sure, but it definitely was a move. Diana married into the royals as a young, naive girl and suffered through a marriage that was anything but a fairy tale. Her ending was tragic, but her legacy as the people's princess is untouchable. Even decades later, the world is still captivated by her. What do you think about Diana's legendary story? Do you think Charles ever really loved her? Let me know in the comments.